Welcome to Unsigned Hype episode 4. On this episode, I have the pleasure to talk to the incredible artist Jennifair from Chicago. Prior to her interview, I asked Jennifair which song she would play for someone that wasn't familiar with her music yet. Jennifair chose her song Pickup Lines, and if you're not familiar with Jennifair's music yet, here's a snippet of that song before we jump into the interview.
And you, my dear, oh yeah. I'm not trying to waste no time. You so fine, I don't mind. And my pickup line sounds like
This is Unsigned Hype, and the song you just heard is called Pickup Lines by Jennifair, who is joining us from Chicago today. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the show. Jennifair, why is Pickup Lines the song you would play for someone that has never heard your music before?
I would play Pickup Lines because I feel that people that haven't heard my music, that's always the first song that they find. It's been a song that I've been like running into the ground, performing everywhere since like 2017. And it's just really catchy. I think the acoustic feel is like a really good vibe, easy on the ears. And then the hook, just the, falsetto, just gets people like right away. So that's probably the song that, I would play for somebody.
There's another song that I was listening to called "Touch You" that you released a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and this probably wasn't like a metaphor for your music career, but there's this thing you say on the hook, which is like, this is not a race, and it made me think about music careers and some artists who want to get to the top very, very fast, and I'm wondering with this idea in mind, where are you now on your journey? Where do you feel you are at if we consider this to be kind of like a run, or we take a metaphor for your career, basically? Where are you now?
I think I'm coasting right now. I think for so much of my career, like I was always trying to like race to that next moment or to that next like big accomplishment, or that I really forgot to like really enjoy the journey. I didn't appreciate where I was at certain moments, and I think recently I've been trying to do a better job of slowing myself down and just really immersing myself in experience and enjoying what I make. Like I released something yesterday called Pity Party. I had to really like just sit and listen to that. Like, yo, I made that. And I don't do those moments enough. Like I feel like we're always trying to catch like the next high or like that next like validating moment. But right now I'm just really just kind of sitting back and just in awe of things that I'm able to create myself right now, and just enjoying what I make, what I sing, what I see. So yeah, as far as like racing and on this, I'm coasting right now. Like I'm just enjoying where I'm at musically.
Do you have your own understanding of where this feeling comes from to do things so fast and to get to the top very fast? Did you ever think about that?
I think for myself personally, I'm like kind of a perfectionist. And so I put these like crazy, like I set these crazy standards for myself, like just feeling like, and I think social media plays a part of it too. You're watching everybody around you and you think that everyone is just like passing you by. Like everyone is just like, well, this person is doing that. Oh, well, this person got this done. And it's like you look at yourself and you kind of feel like defeated. I realized that like I can't really compare myself to anybody else. And as far as like, I think your question was like realizing, what was it? Realizing.
The question was mostly because I thought it was really interesting what you mentioned about, this hectic aspect behind building a career and not really taking the time to enjoy your craft and what you've put out, but really always thinking about the next step. And
Yes.
what made you realize that you needed to take a step back, basically,
yes, that's
and
what
where
it said.
this, and especially where this need comes from to do everything so fast. And I think you mentioned something really, really interesting already, is that this feeling of comparing yourself to others a lot makes you want to do things faster and better than others, obviously, right?
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with like the social media coaching and me just watching everyone around me and just feeling like I'm not doing enough. When it's like ultimately like you are. You know, just
Mm,
understanding what my lane was and just staying in that lane and going at my own pace. I
mm,
really realized that like probably before I moved, like right when I moved back to Chicago, I had a lot of time to think because COVID had just happened. And so everything kind of shut down. So I had nothing but time to like think. And I'm like, man, I don't think I've ever really slowed down. Like I'm just always trying to keep up with other people. And it's like,
mm.
nah, just focus on yourself. That's the most important part.
I want to get back a little bit to your starts, and if we
Hmm.
look at your discography, for example, on Spotify, the first song that is on there that you've put out was your single "Murder" in 2012.
Oh, God.
So I listened to that song, and you could also hear a lot of evolution from there. And I'm wondering if you could take me back to, well, first of all, that probably wasn't the first song you recorded, right?
No. No, the
But where
first
were you at that time?
man, I used to work with this producer in Chicago, and we used to like come up with like crazy stuff. And I can't even remember where I was like mentally when I made that. I cringe when I have to go back and listen to things. I have to go back and listen to things from that far.
Like, can I ask you a real quick question?
Yeah,
Why
for
is that?
sure.
Why do you cringe? What is it
Ugh.
about that song, for example?
It's just I was just so young, and I feel like my voice was just like so immature. It hadn't matured yet. Um, and it's just I don't know when you start learning things and you get better and you get better and you get better. It's like you go back. I'm laughing because it's like I can remember that song, and it was so good to me at the time. Like I was like, this is so great. And it's like I go back and I listen to that stuff and I'm like, oh my God, this is so awful. Ah, that was a long time ago. That's
It
funny.
was. It was. And I think it was even around that time that you moved from Chicago to New York, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
2013,
Yes.
2014.
Yep.
And so what I don't know if you can even answer the question because there might be no reason behind it, but I'm wondering also because I've talked to artists about the meaning of Berlin to them and coming to Berlin, as I mentioned to you earlier before we started the interview,
Mm-hmm.
the creative power that certain cities have. Like what did this move to New York, what kind of impact did it have on you and your career? And was there like another world opening up to you when you moved to this pretty iconic city, also in terms of
Mm-hmm.
music, which Chicago is as well? But
Mm-hmm.
what did that move do to you to New York?
Oh man, it made me grow up. New York will like eat you up and spit you out, and it gave me like a hustler mentality because that's really what I felt like I was doing when I moved there. I feel like I was so green. I would just like say yes to anything. I was like, I want to work, I want to work, I want to work, and I was performing every day. I was going to work every day. I was writing, and it helped a lot as far as like my business sense because I had a little bit of that like in Chicago, but I had a team of people that I was working with in New York until I didn't anymore. And it was just me managing myself, promoting myself, planning my tours, making my merch, uh, recording my own music. Like I was literally wearing all these hats. New York just turned me like I think into like a better business mind. It kind of gave me a little tougher skin with dealing with other people because people like to take advantage of you in this industry. But it also kind of ran me into the ground. I'm not gonna lie. It was very stressful. And I don't think I could have honestly admitted that until I left. Uh it taught me what I didn't want to be ultimately. Um
Mm. And you just left recently, right?
I left in 2020.
To me, when I looked at your story and your journey a little bit, it seemed like New York did a lot. Like you mentioned the shows, you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned
Oh yeah.
I think you really started playing a lot of shows, and I want to get to that in a little bit. Was New York also the city that you've recorded your first album in? Because I think Tale of Two Cities was the first official release
Mm-hmm.
after like a couple of songs that you had released between 2012 and
Mm-hmm.
2018, 2019. I think Tale of Two Cities
Yep.
came out.
A Tale of Two Cities had like a combination of songs like done in Chicago and in New York. And it was mostly an album just of me and my experiences in between that time of becoming acclimated to, to the New York world.
With regards to Tale of Two Cities, I thought it was really interesting because I hadn't seen that before. That an artist let at that I want to say early stage with this being your first album, you decided to put a live album out immediately, right?
Oh
Immediately after
yeah.
that, which was a live album of A Tale of Two Cities, and I'm very curious to hear why you made that decision. Like, why was it important for you to put that album into a live version?
Because around the Tale of Two Cities, I was doing a lot of live shows with the band. I had developed like this relationship with my guys, and I always wanted to do like a live album. So I said, "Yo, let's just go into the studio and like record a live album." And that's literally what we did. I didn't really have like this whole, well, we just released this, so we probably shouldn't do this. So like I wasn't really thinking about that. I was more so just like really enjoying like making the music. We did everything
Mm.
in like one studio session. We shot a documentary for it as well. So it was more just to have like that content and those like memories of doing that with them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like for you performing and everything that is live still,
Hmm.
2018 especially with you, you performed at Minton's in Harlem, I think, and
Oh yeah.
which is a very iconic jazz club, and
Hmm.
it seemed to me that you were performing many times live and putting a lot of emphasis on that.
Hmm.
How does that work? How do you find these venues? Like, how do you connect with the people that give you the opportunity to perform live as much as you did?
In New York, it really happened like every time I performed at one place, somebody was there from another place and was like, "Can you come perform here?" It literally happened like that all the time. Like I would walk into one place and I would perform, and somebody from another event would be like, "Well, I'm gonna be here this weekend. Do you want to?" And I was literally like performing in a new place like every week. But then there were times where like I booked my own show, so I would like do research and be like, "Oh, okay. Well, I've never performed there before. I think that looks like a nice venue. We should do something there." Because I got to the point where I was like, "I'm not gonna pay a promoter. I'm gonna book my own shows, book my own tour." Minton's though was crazy. Like I just went there because I knew it was a legendary spot,
Mm.
and the guy on stage was from Chicago, and he let me sing with them. Like that wasn't even my show. I just got asked to come
Okay.
on stage, and I was just like, whoa. Cause I don't know I'm not well versed in like jazz or anything. So I was
Yeah.
very afraid, very nervous. But that was
Mm.
like a once in a lifetime opportunity. That one was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Did you feel a direct impact on your overall career from performing live so much at these
Hmm.
venues?
Yeah, I think it helped me. I think it helped my artistry a lot, honestly. Playing with the people that I played with, like my drummer, I had a saxophonist. Everyone around me was like super knowledgeable when it came to like music theory. I learned a lot. Like performing live just gives you better stage presence, better interaction with the crowd. I was learning instruments. It helped a lot for my artistry.
Mm. Yeah, and then the streaming numbers for your first album, Tales Two Cities, went up quite a bit around that time. I think
Hmm.
you did 100,000 streams almost. I think almost a year after it came out,
I
and
think so. Yeah.
this brings me kind of to the question of numbers for you as an artist. How important are these numbers? Like, do you look at numbers a lot? Is this something that you put a big focus on in your career?
I started to put a bit focus on it when other people around me started making it a big deal. I try not to look at the numbers because honestly, like it'll drive me crazy. Um, I know
In what
that
way?
because I feel like it goes back to that whole sense of comparing yourself to others when a lot of the times like I would rather my numbers just be organic. So if I compare my numbers to like somebody else and they have like millions millions of streams, you feel this small, you feel inadequate. And so a lot of times I just don't even try to look at them like that, but I do celebrate when I see growth. So
Mm.
when I see growth in numbers, I'll check like every couple of months or something. When I saw that my Spotify numbers were growing, I was like, "Oh, okay, like I could actually like do this." So I do celebrate like the small, but as far as like I try not to make my life about numbers
Mm.
because I just think that that's like a miserable way to move about in this industry.
How do you define your own success after this, run that you've had and that you still have, by the way? I mean, you still put out music, you still perform at shows, people still want to hear your music. When do you feel successful with everything that you're doing?
When I'm happy, um I used to feel like, gotta have this many followers and I have to have this many streams and you know, I'm happy when like a few people just tell me like, yo, I like the song. If people are engaging with it and you're listening to the music, that feels good. I'm happy when something's completed. Um Happy when I get to perform. That's success to me. Like if I could just put a few dollars in my pocket, I could pay my bills, my wife is good, I'm good, then that's successful. That's success to me. Being able to like eat. You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm. And the performance thing that we were talking about earlier, the many different venues that you did
Hmm.
before Corona hit, that came kind of to a halt with quarantine, and I was really really impressed to see that, like, what I loved the most about, I mean, if you can love anything about Corona and the quarantine, what I loved is how creative artists like yourself became to kind of keep things going.
Yeah.
You did like live performances on
Hmm.
Facebook during lockdown, and I think you even started learning to make beats.
Yes.
Um, how was that period for you, and how did that impact you as an artist?
That was a crazy time. That was such a crazy time. I just try to keep myself busy because everything shut down in New York. We had plans to go to like Boston, Buffalo, New York. We had like more shows lined up, and then COVID happened, and then it was just like, like nothing. Um, so I was just still trying to do things like to just keep like the music moving. I had started like learning how to produce in like 2019, so before COVID happened, like late of 2019, I had already started producing. COVID taught me that I could do it myself. I always felt like I had to go to somebody else for the music. Hey, can you make this for me? Can you do this for me? And it's like, it's just me with MPK in the house with a bunch of samples and everything, at my fingertips. So I just started making beats and Cabin Fever 1, 2, and 3 came from,
Mm.
you know, me just learning how to do stuff. And just doing it myself. I shot visuals myself. I did everything myself during that time.
Yeah, all self-produced. I read that about the Cabin Fever trilogy that you ended up putting out. How did things change for you as an artist with that realization, like, compared to the time before? And why do you believe it's so important to be able to do everything yourself? Is that a necessity as an artist?
Um, I like it's not a necessity because no man's an island, right? So sometimes it is better to outsource and get help. But I think just the flexibility of being able to pick something up and just play it yourself, I don't know, that's just a creative freedom to me. And creative freedom is important. That's a necessity for me.
And why do you think that that you weren't able to do that before? What kept you from coming to that realization before COVID?
I think I had a producer, like, so it was just like, well, I don't ever have to do this. I always have somebody to do that for me. And it's like, but I didn't at the
Mm.
time. So, like, what are you going to do? You going to wait for somebody to do it, or you going to get busy? You going to get in here and start making stuff, you know? I chose the latter, to get busy.
What was that hard? Because I imagine with everything that you start doing that you've never really done before, it takes some time and you need to
Oh, yeah.
research a lot and talk to a bunch of people. What was that process like?
It was a lot of like tutorials, but a lot of it was just like me, just vibes. It's hard. It's still hard. Producing is not, it's not getting easier. Like, I'm still, learning like different instruments. I'm still learning different DAWs and stuff like that, but it's fun. It's fun, and I
Mm.
and I enjoy it. It feels good. But the process in the beginning was difficult. It's kind of like when you mentioned like murder. So
Mm.
like I go back and listen to like some of the first beats that I made, and I'm just like,
Mm.
like, cringe again. So, but I don't know. It's a fun process. It's still a learning process, but
And is there
you know,
something that you've learned that now today you don't have to go to anybody else anymore to ask them for help?
um, is there anything I've learned today that I wouldn't have to go ask for help?
Yeah. Or within that process, like something that you couldn't do yourself before and today you can easily do yourself.
Um, no, I still think that there are things where I could still ask for it, but do I? I mean, you could always ask for help with things, but I guess when it comes to like recording myself, and I don't really ask for help for that. I just do it.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
but there are times where, hey, this beat is missing this, so let me call for help. Let me get somebody to play the bass, or I can't really play that guitar part that well. Let me call somebody and have them lay that down. So
Mm.
I think you'll always have situations where you could call for help, but there are times where I trust myself more in certain situations where I don't have to. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And this leads me to my next question, and this could be tough because I, looking back and at a process and at a career path is the reason why things have happened the way they've happened is because it was just meant to be like that. But I'm wondering if there's something that you yourself today think you could have done better, for lack of a better words, to be more ahead in your career today, without measuring necessarily where you are and whether it's good or bad, but just in
Hmm.
your own thoughts, basically. Is there something that in the past you could have done better to be more ahead today on your journey?
Um. mm, yeah. I guess. I mean, there's probably certain people that I probably wouldn't have taken along. But then again, it's like I don't want to blame any situation for where I am now, because I'm not necessarily upset at where I am. I think everything happens for a reason.
Mm.
Um, if there's anything I could have done differently, it probably would have been to love on myself a little bit more. Um, to take care of me, to focus on like my mental health, because I think I got to a point where I wanted this thing to like happen for so many people and for like everybody around me, that I cared so much more about making that happen for all of us than, taking care of myself. So if I could have done anything differently, I would have loved on myself a little more in the beginning. Yeah.
Thanks for also rewording that, because it sounds much nicer to say you could have done things differently than better.
Mhm.
That's a very very good way to put it.
Mhm.
What is this thing that you talk about? What is this? What do you envision for you and other people that you want to make this thing happen? Is it the big stadiums? Is it the millions of dollars? Is it the fans that greet you on the street? What is this thing, in your own words, that you want to get to?
That's a good question because every time, like growing up, and I would talk to like my friends and or musicians or anybody, everybody's like, when we get on, and it's like, what does get on mean? Like,
Yeah.
what does that even mean? And I still to this day, I feel like I can't even tell you what that means. But like this thing that like I was chasing, I guess it would have been like stadium status and like, so celebrity status where like can't walk down the street and crazy fans and crazy money and all those things. And I don't necessarily care about none of that anymore. Um
Mm.
my ultimate thing, and I mean this like 100%, my ultimate thing is just like happiness. I just want to be happy with what I do, happy with what I make, happy with what I put out, happy in my life and my relationships. Cause it's like, yeah, do I want to sell out a stadium? Hell yeah. But like, what artist doesn't want that? But that's not my thing anymore. If I get there, then that's amazing. But I don't want to get there and be miserable. Like, and that's one thing that I learned about being in New York. I was miserable. Like, I'm happy at this point in my career, and that's all I want because that feels good.
Well, that's very, very nice to hear. I was just going to ask you if you feel happy today,
Mm,
but
mhm.
you've just answered that, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's good
I
to
do.
see. For people that listen to this and that hear about your journey, what are some of the, in your own terms, some of the biggest challenges that artists like yourself, with where you are now and where you want to go, have on a daily basis to get to that place of happiness?
Um. Well, I mean, I can speak from like personal experience. Like, it's probably best to understand like who you are as an artist, or like why you do it. What's your why? Because I think that that gets challenged a lot on the road to whatever your happiness might be. Um, Understanding like why you even do it in the first place. Like, what's your why? There might be certain people or certain things that might stand in your way. Um, it might look a little different for everybody. Uh, yeah, but I think just ultimately it starts at the core. I think it starts at the core.
You've recently graduated, I think
Yes.
relatively recently.
Yeah, like May 19th, I think.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
magna cum laude, I
Yeah.
think, in fine arts and music. That's incredible. When I when I saw that, I was wondering about this extra sense of security that people sometimes need in their life, which is why they might have a second job next to pursuing a career in music, which is why they go to college. Why was that important for you to do that?
You ask really good questions. You have some really good questions. I'm enjoying this.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I went back to school because remember we were just talking about like, there's always more to learn, or like you're
Yeah.
probably always gonna need help with something. Um,
Hmm.
it's with the production part. I didn't know music theory, and people say you don't need to know music theory to become a producer. You just don't. You could just know vibes and hear things, and so you don't need that. I wanted it though. I
Mm.
wanted the theory because I'm like, I don't understand how chords work. I don't understand why this sounds this way. And so I went back to school, and I went back for 2 years. I got the whole theory knowledge out of the way, oral skills, everything, voice lessons, the whole shebang. But I needed that, like, I needed that knowledge, that background, because I wanted to become a better producer. So that's why I went. That's why I went back to school.
And in hindsight, it most definitely did something to you as an artist, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's something you would most likely recommend to others that want to pursue a bit of or get more knowledge. Yeah.
I do. There are a lot of people that disagree with me and say you don't need music theory, but like yo, just learn it. Just learn
Mm.
it. Like if you're already dope and you already got the vibes, like learn a theory. It's only gonna it's not gonna hinder you. It's gonna do nothing but make you better. That's what I think. But I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
this is a great starting point for my next question, which goes a bit into the direction of advice. What if someone's tuning in right now and is just getting started making music and thinking about following their passion and becoming an artist and making a living out of this? What advice would you give them?
If they're just starting out,
Mm.
um, just practice and learn something every day. If your craft is like beat making, well, who's your favorite producers, and like why do you like them? I just try something new every day, learn something new every day. At least try to like work on it once a day. Um, because then you'll just look up a year later and you'll see so much growth. It's just like keep at it, keep working at it, learn as much as you can. Like I feel like at my graduation, the president of the school was like, who are our forever learners, like our forever students. And I'm a forever student. Like I try to learn something, read something, do something like every day because I enjoy it. I enjoy learning. But yeah, if you wanna become an artist and you wanna, pursue this lane, just whatever your craft is, whatever your specialty is, like just work at it. Practice it like every day.
Who are your artists that you would recommend to the listeners, to artists that who are on that path of just getting started or who might already have a career but who deserve more attention in your opinion? Do you have some people in mind that you want
Yeah.
to shout out here?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. There's this guy who I think is like a phenomenal singer, and I think he's a pianist as well. Oh, he says producer composer. His name is Denzel Lavelle, and he's from Chicago. I saw this guy one time uh, at a club here. I can't remember the name of it, and he just like he was one hell of a performer live too. I'm talking. Oh my god, this dude was so dope. Um, that's one guy. There is this other artist that I like that I've seen perform a couple of times. His name is Ben Mowana.
Hmm.
Um, I saw him play at a So Far show. Great musician, great vocalist. Just people that you feel like should be bigger that just are not. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But even then, like, what is big anyway?
Exactly. That's the first question. What is big? What is big and what is not? But on the other
Mm-hmm.
hand, I'm wondering in because it's really interesting that you said that people that should be bigger than they are. Do you have your own understanding of why some people get big and others
Oh yeah.
don't really get big, or it might take a longer time to get there?
Mm-hmm. You. Well, I think that sometimes people go viral. Sometimes people are in the right spot, right scene at the right time. Some it's just their that's their moment, that's their time. But then I kind of got to go back to like, well, like what's considered big? Like I don't know. It's all subjective.
Mm,
It's all subjective now that I think
I
about it.
agree.
Um, yeah, that kind of stuck me like right there. Like, well, what is big? What is big when you think about it? Because everything is about social media following and everything nowadays. And
Yeah, it's a lot about numbers, but
Yeah.
there might be artists who might not have the numbers who could be really big to me because I love them so much and I've listened to them every day, and and they're massive to me, but they might not have
Yeah.
the millions of streams.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's difficult to put a finger on it. Why, like, how to define that?
I agree.
You've touched upon this. You've touched upon this a little bit, but as a final question, I still would like to ask you, what do you do it all for?
Oh, because I love it. I mean, like, since I was like a little girl, like my sisters say that, like, I was like 3 or 4 and I would just pop up singing. Like, I would be asleep and then music would be on and then I would just pop up and then start singing the song, and it would scare like the shit out of them. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can curse. Have I been cursing?
Absolutely, you can.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all. But you can.
Okay. So I've been singing since I learned how to walk, probably. I do it because I really enjoy it. There's just something about music that, like, makes the hair on my skin, like, stand up when I hear a good harmony or like a good guitar lick or something, or it's my outlet. So it's been my outlet since I was a little kid, like, to just go and write something, make something, sing something. But it makes me feel so good when I can make something, sing something, perform something. Like, it's in my blood. It's just, it's a part of me. So that's why I do it, because I love it.
Jennifair, thank you so much for this incredible conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're awesome. So keep doing your thing, and really enjoy the music that you've put out.
Thank you so much.
Keep singing till the song is up.
Okay.
Damn. That's when I say when I try to describe you. Can't go a day without thinking of.
This was Unsigned Hype episode 4 with Jennifair, and the track you're hearing right now is called The Humming Song. You will find the song in the Unsigned Hype podcast playlist, along with all other songs discussed in this episode. Make sure to support Jennifair by checking out her music and following her on social media. And for your weekly Unsigned Hype, make sure to also follow us on Spotify and Instagram. All the links are in the show notes below.